To continue off, I wanted to separate this one. I showed Breaking Bad last time I was on here, and I left El Camino out of the discussion because I wanted to have that for its own thing. This was part of the Breaking Bad huge full set that I got.
This is one I have not actually seen yet.
This is one I recommend seeing, even if you know what happens in it. Like, it's still worth watching. I think it's still got like the.
I actually don't know what happens in it.
Well, I want to spoil it because I don't know what else I'll say about it.
I know it was on Netflix. I never watched it, so
yeah, I think it's it's still very much worth a watch. It's like an epilogue to Breaking Bad, but it's really just following Jesse and what happens. After.
Yeah, no.
At the very end of Breaking Bad, when all the white supremacist dudes get shot down by Walt's gun thing that he rigged in his truck or in the trunk. Sorry. Of his car or whatever, Jesse is able to go free, takes the El Camino and goes off and, just has this victory. Yes, I'm free. He was captive for 6 months by these guys, forced to cook meth, and he finally got freedom. He's been kept in a hole the whole time. His hair's overgrown, everything. That's all he's done. He's seen his girl that he loved get shot in the head by these guys. Just like he's been through a lot of freaking crap. Essentially, and so he finally gets free. He goes right to his buddies Skinny Pete and Badger, his best friends, and they're pretty cool. They just like help him right away. There's no huge plan with them, but he needs to get rid of the car, so he just trades it with their cars. And they're like, yeah, if the cops pull us over, we'll just be like, yeah, you came by and I dropped the car off with the keys and left. And what are they going to do? Just say no, you didn't? Like these, like with how they are in their history with the police and whatever, they'll just be like, yeah, that sounds likely, whatever. And but it takes it really chill as it starts. They notice big time how much skinnier Jesse is because he can fit into like Skinny Pete's clothes essentially. Like, and he definitely, Skinny Pete's fucking skinny. So, but it shows you like how long he's been. When he wakes up, like he just sees instantly starts like clawing at the sun or whatever at the window because he's been in the hole this whole freaking time. So.
Yeah,
the light was like, a little tough on him at first, but he adjusts to it a little bit. They really take it nice and slow. The opening shot with it actually isn't with his escape. It's a flashback to a conversation with Mike Ehrmantraut. There's like a specific episode in Breaking Bad. If you see the scene here, you guys would know where it is in the Breaking Bad show where they had this last conversation and talking about, what would you do if you could start over? And he recommends Alaska. And I think in the show when Jesse's talking to Saul about like where he would go to start over because they're like everything's going to crap with certain things, he says Alaska, which seemed kind of random at the time. I don't know if you felt that way too. It was like Alaska. I mean, okay, random, but okay, it's a place to go to start over. But this shows like why that was. And most of the movie is about him trying to get a hold of whatever money he can so that he can go to Alaska. He's trying to get away still because he's on the run from the cops. They're still looking for him. They know all of the stuff with Walter White, all the stuff with everybody involved with the meth stuff has pretty much been snubbed out except for Jesse. And he's like the last thing there. And he's just trying to get the fuck away. But the director of this actually wanted to maybe have him get arrested at the end. He wanted it to be a thing where he can't sleep the whole movie, and then once he gets arrested and put in a cell, then he can finally sleep. And everybody that worked on the cast was like, fuck no, we want to see him have a different ending than that. Thank you. So no, and filming this. So I'm not going to spoil everything with it. That's why I just kind of, as far as telling the story, that's like the setup to the story and where it goes. And you get flashbacks throughout the movie. Like you get one flashback scene with Walt. There's not like a whole bunch of them, just one. There's a couple of flashbacks with Todd, the guy who watched over him. For the most part, Todd Alquist. He's like the unsuspecting psychopath of the crazies. Like he comes off like he can be a normal guy and as if he kind of cares, but he's like one of the most careless, heartless people there. That was
the red-haired guy, right?
That was the guy who like shot the kid after they did the train heists and stuff. Yeah, that guy. And he kind of treated Jesse like a pet or like a friend. Like it kind of comes off like he never had friends and like wasn't really good with it. So he wanted like, oh, Jesse's around my age, he could be a friend, sort of a thing. What's kind of funny though is that the time between filming Breaking Bad and El Camino, that guy gained a lot of weight and did not lose the weight for El Camino. So when you do the flashbacks and you see Todd, he's got quite the chubbier face than he did in the show. It's like, Jesus, you aged a lot and got fat. But whatever, you know, it's still done well and acted well. But visually, you notice he's off. And Walter,
he ended up marrying Kirsten Dunst.
No way, no shit.
Yeah,
that's cool. Walter, Bryan Cranston, he was filming something for, I forget what it was. He was filming something else where he had to have his hair, so he couldn't. When he filmed Breaking Bad, he always shaved his head, but he could not shave it for this, so he had to have the bald cap kind of thing. Problem was his head looked freaking huge with it. So they had to actually like CGI digitally kind of make his head a little smaller, but some people still say his head looked a little bit larger than it did in the original one. But it's just kind of funny, some of the filming stuff that went on with it. And when they were filming it, they did not want people to know about it beforehand. They wanted it to be like a surprise release, like not having they're filming El Camino, the sequel to Breaking Bad. Like, no, they kept it under wraps, or they would call each other by code names. Apparently, they called Badger and Pete, those actors, like Spock and Picard or something. They called Walt and Jesse, Bert and Ernie. They called Todd Alquist Meth Damon or Dolph. Dolph, you know, and stuff. So, I like the Meth Damon because he does kind of look like Matt Damon a little bit, like, you know, like
I believe he actually played Matt Damon as a kid in a movie.
Probably that would make sense.
I think he did. I believe he did. I can't
like
remember what movie, but he did.
He's like a double take, like, you know. Was that him? No, that's not him. But that made me think of him. So yeah, it's like that. And no, it's just again, it's a really it's a very chill movie. There's a couple of like intense scenes in it, but it's very chill and just a lot of you feel you want this guy to get out of this okay. That's the main thing. And it still maintains a lot of the humor that kind of comes with him as a kind of character, but he's also become a man, and it's just really well done. It's like a calm exit to the entirety of Breaking Bad. It's just like, oh, you know, that's like, it's good. It's a worthwhile watch. If they released it in theaters and if people saw El Camino without seeing Breaking Bad, it's not one of those movies that you just be like, well, I don't understand anything that's going on. If anything, it would be a good trailer for Breaking Bad. To be like, wait a second, you're telling me there's a whole story before this movie?
Yeah.
6 seasons worth of stuff? Yeah. Damn, okay. Like, yeah, like that's what it'd be, because it gives you little hints and nuggets, and you know where it ends, but like the journey is, you know, a lot of the fun, of course, with these kind of things. But really, really well made, really cool. Really, I like how the respect they have for it. It's like just one of those things where they didn't have to make this at all. And they did, and it was just focused on him. And I don't know, it was a good choice, because they could have done. I'd love to see like the Mike Ehrmantraut character have his own show or something. Just him doing any odd job would be hilarious to see him interact with people. And then just, I don't know, he's got to do something. Always goes wrong. He just put him in an environment. He's funny. I think it'd be kind of with how he is in contrast with him. Like when in Better Call Saul, he's like a parking lot toll guy, essentially, and it does other little jobs here and there. But
yeah, the problem with that is he's way older than them.
There's that wouldn't be a safe bet, because you don't know when he actually might keel over in real life. So picking Jesse was a good idea, and it's just more interesting the fact that they were going to kill the character off at the end of season 1 of Breaking Bad.
Season,
and they chose not to. And he's like the survivor. He's like the heart of this by the end of it. He was basically, like a father-son relationship with Walt, and like all the stuff with them toward the end was so bad. Like it was so mixed, and there wasn't like a satisfying, I still respect you, father, and everything. They give each other a look before they leave.
By the end, Walt is just irredeemable. He's irredeemable by the end. So there's no, I mean, he has to die. He has to die.
Yeah. It was the thing too, where Walt planned to kill Jesse there. When he called him up, he was like, Jesse you work with Jesse. And he's like, what? You're supposed to kill him. And he goes, you calling me a liar? What? And he gets Jesse up. He wanted Jesse to be wiped out with the guns as well. But seeing Jesse and stuff, like, I think they portray it pretty well. Walt sees him and it's like, oh, this is not like, you have a chance to have a better life still. Tackles him, lets the guns go off, saves him, takes a bullet technically for him, and then lets him go, lets him drive off with the gun and stuff too. He didn't had a chance to shoot him, does not shoot him, and lets him go. Like, even though they had so much bad blood, Jesse essentially caused the death of, spoilers, Hank, with it. So it's like, so I don't know. They have reasons to hate each other's guts, big time.
Oh, they do.
It's just, but it's all caused by Walt. All his manipulation. It's all his fault. Everything that happens in there is his fault.
It's one of the great characters of television.
It's just done so well because we root for him, though he's doing the horrible things. Yeah, and then we might not be rooting for him, but we don't want him to fully fail either. Like, it's weird. It's like if we're just watching. I don't know an example of a horrible person at the top of my head, but just like you'd be like, I shouldn't be rooting for you. Why am I rooting for you? Yeah. Why am I on your team? Like, you're the bad guy. You were the bad guy. The Black Angus pointed out, like, their color scheme, especially just like with them. They're, at the beginning, they have their green, brown, whatever, and by the end, they're all in black. Like, these are the villains. That's a classic Western thing. Our main characters are the villains.
Yes, yes, they are. So they essentially become the villains of the show. You're watching basically a good person turn into a very bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. So even Jesse is, but he's like a way less bad person. Mike Ehrmantraut, he's a less bad person. Still bad though. Still on the bad team. Still does bad things. Still does a lot of shit. So yeah. So I mean, I could talk about this a long time. I think that's a good amount though. Unless you want to comment more on it too.
I have not.
You haven't seen it. Sorry, you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen El Camino. So I can't comment on that. I have seen all of Breaking Bad, but I watched it when it was new. So it's been a few years.
Yes. So I'm always late to every trend. I'm late to everything. I'm going to get through Walking Dead one day. I haven't started that yet.
Oh, then you don't need to do that.
I've heard it's somewhat worth it, at least a little bit.
It's good up to about season. I want to say about the first part of season 5, and then after that, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
So I stopped watching it after the first half of season 5. That's it. I haven't seen past that. I was like, no. But the comic is great. So
right. Yeah. Well, it's like to say people said the same thing with Game of Thrones, and I agree, but I still watched it to the end because I wanted to see how they fuck everything up.
Oh, they messed
because they built up such goodwill. How do you fuck it up so bad? And so watching the catastrophe happen was worth it because now I know I should never do anything like that. Sometimes when you get really good, you don't have to do more. You can just kind of end it if you wanted to. You can just say, "This is good."
Well, with Game of Thrones, they ran out of source material and they started making crap up. And then by the time the last season, we got hired for a Star Wars movie, so we're just going to phone this in. And that's what happened.
Right. Well, I mean, but that's what's interesting because Breaking Bad, they honestly, they ended at their peak. Oh, they could have gone more. The studios probably would have been like, bro, you're approved for more. You're good. You're hot. Everybody talks about you. You're great. But they're like, no, this is the end of the story. We're good.
Yeah, you don't want to dredge it out. You don't want to do that. They
ended when they needed to. Everything drags out these days. They need to learn, like with Breaking Bad, to just stop. And yet they ended up making a spin-off show, but it's like milking anything, like that's disingenuous to what it is. Like it's very different. It's focused on a completely different character. There's a couple of characters that you see, like, Mike Ehrmantraut's in it. I know other characters are in it. You'll recognize some characters, but it's not. It's not like milking Breaking Bad. It's focusing on the origin of Saul, and that's. I don't know how else to describe it. It does that really well.
I know about it. I know better Call Saul. I know.
It's just because some spinoffs are milkers, that just try to milk shit, and it's like, oh god, can you just stop it? But this one's like, you could almost watch this separately from Breaking Bad and still not have anything like ruined or confused, which is good. So anyway, That's my first pick, El Camino.